Yeah, I think that's probably an encapsulation of why I wanted to start this mentorship in the first place. Is like, how do I move from telling the players what to do into creating systems that
Right.
let them?
Let's take a look at it then. Let's get concrete with all this vocabulary and these ideas, and let's see if we can really hammer at it really hard. One, where is the color, and how does it change? And you kind of seem to have a pretty good sense of that. That it's a tragedy to have died, but it is a tragedy to lose the few memories you have left. But in many ways, it's necessary. You need to complete the process of dying. That this is part of what we do, part of how things go. And that greatness is achievable in the context of doing so. So is that a pretty good verbal phraseology for, is that redundant? Is that a pretty good phraseology for the cycle that we've talked about of changing, the character changing through iterations of play? If it is, then we move very directly into where systemically what pieces need representation and which pieces don't. Because the things that change are going to have to change. They can be added or subtracted, or they could go up or down in some quantitative value. Like memories are added or subtracted in a lot of cases, whereas sometimes they go up and down in value. So you can, think about that. How do you want to do it? Then you have this. Then you have the thing which we've missed in this conversation. Situations. We have the thing we've missed in the conversation. Situations of play. One thing the Whispering Vault does very well is you fight monsters. Boy, do you fight monsters. At its most superficial, Whispering Vault is Wumpus hunting. And the Wumpus is grotesque, the Wumpus is fascinating, the Wumpus is colorful, so are you, and so our Wumpus fight is going to have a whole lot of chains shooting out of eyeballs going on here.
Right.
The question is, I bring this up because your game also seems you're very interested in, the battles of the id. And that's the point. If you're going to be dealing with horrific beings and combating them as part of what you do, are they just signposts to get this soul, out of hell or through the process that it needs to go through or whatever? Are they just speed bumps? Or are they we could go full on psycho here, and they are manifestations of the problem. That's the far end at the other end of the spectrum. One is, these icky things live here, and if we're stumbling around trying to do X, Y, or Z, we're just going to run across a bunch of them. Whatever we run into, we're going to have to kill. Or all the way to the far end of the spectrum, which is we fight these monsters because they are manifestations of the problem. And so that really becomes your concern. What are the situations of play? Coming up with character abilities, you've got your list. You've got your list of, did I say clans? What do you call it when you say my character has the essence of water, my character has the essence of spirit, my character has the essence of hatred, or something like that. But whatever it is, you've got your list of those that the characters have. Let's get away from that. Never mind what the characters have. Never mind the map of hell, right? Remember, characters and setting is just ways that we get situations. They're means to an end. They're not, the end is, the thing we work with is situation. So, what are they? And you can't do anything else in game design unless you know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Set pieces isn't the answer. A battle map with the set, with the lava pit over here and the skeletons over there. That's not what I mean either.
Yeah.
So if you can think about those situations, then tons and tons of other things start to make a lot more sense. Then we can talk about the authorities. Because you see, we were just talking about authorities over the memories, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about authorities over those, and that will help us a lot in thinking about exactly what systemically they do. The way we talk is the way we roll. So, we can do that. Once you start doing that, then a play diagram starts to actually emerge, the systemic diagram. Then, at this point, you no longer, if you get this far, and this is that whole alpha notes, let's try a few pieces with some people for fun phase that I talked about.
Yeah.
If you're actually able to get to that point and you actually see what you were thinking about come to life around the table, then and only then you will find that you don't have to ask that question anymore. You don't have to worry about, do I tell them what to do? They're doing it. And you've totally solved that problem, and you realize that the only reason that you ever had to ask that question was because you were thinking about dice strictly in terms of rolling to hit.
Yeah.
And bonuses for rolling to hit. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
There is one other game that I really hope that I have somewhere. It was one of the very first games that I ever talked about online. So this would have been 1998, when Hephaestus Forge was first formed.
Right.
And it was called Ghostlight by a fellow named Doug Bolden. And Ghostlight is a pretty remarkable, pretty amazing game, actually. Your characters were ghosts, and their attributes were emotions, and you made them up. So you had so many dice to allocate, and you made up as many emotions as you wanted that you wanted to put dice into. There were other things too, but one of the neat things was that the ghost could be whittled away until it was a little teeny tiny wisp of a ghost, or it could batten upon emotion and become a big, more horrifically fanatical, emotional ghost.
Right.
And it was really, really nice to see in play that with just a couple of pages of rules and with these basic points put down in terms of what the dice did and in terms of how characters changed, there was not even a shred of hesitation on the player's part to make up and play their characters. It just didn't happen. There was it was one of those games where you explain the rules for 30 seconds, people are already writing down their characters and saying, I do this and I do that.
Yeah.
And again, as I recall, the few times I played it, I'd play Ghostlight again. I really would. Somebody wants to play. I said, I'll play that again. Ghostlight was notable as well, in my experience, for at least taking seriously that these were ghosts rather than superheroes. And second, being willing to dip into the ridiculousness of it sometimes. There's a little bit of fun in playing the grumpy old schoolmaster ghost. A little bit of fun in, this or that bit of, if not comedic, at least caricature-like elements of it. And maybe that's part of it too. Now that I'm looking at your write-up, takes itself awfully seriously.
That is true.
And it a little. I know that phrase that I used about shooting chains out of your eyeballs is actually a quote from The Whispering Vault, where the author is being pretty straightforward and saying, don't just say energy blast, do a thing. That's kind of the champion's stuff that informs the game. But but the way he phrases it is that, yes, I know what I just said is a little ridiculous. It's kind of okay to go there, though. Go there a little bit. Kind of letting it relax a little bit is something that Psychopomp could probably use.
That's probably true, yeah.
So, I mean, again, Ghostlight doesn't say anything about it. It's a couple pages of rules. People knew what to do, though. They knew what to do with the fact that their characters had died. And they knew what to do with making it genuinely emotional. And they knew what to do when the humor, smacks you over the head. Run with it a little.
Right.
I don't know if we really did as much like crunchy game design-y kind of things, but one thing I'll go to that, I think, just for a minute. How badly can a character be hurt?
That's a good question, because I feel like as bad as a character can be hurt is, in this game, supposed to be losing all your memories and becoming hollow.
Right, exactly. In other words, getting physically shredded can make you lose a fight.
Yeah.
And maybe like leave you're out of the situation or something, but you'll reform. That's sort of something I kind of got the idea of.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, again, that brings us back to those situations of play that if they don't win the fight, then something has to be lost. They can't just reform and come back.
Well, I was thinking that maybe metaphysically they were formed of their memories, and so losing their physicality in that way or being hurt in that way would cause their memories inherently to be lost.
I think that's not a bad idea, that the physical death will have an impact on the memory bank.
Right.
That seems perfectly reasonable. But I think the sort of more voluntary or the more gradual or the more kind of bit by bit, piece by piece as an ongoing thing isn't just about getting killed in combat. Yeah, that's something else.
That's why I've been having a hard time figuring out, because I don't want it to just be I don't want it to be purely that your memories are your hit points and that's the only way.
Roll the really kind of mindless way of doing it is, you rolled these handfuls of d6 all the time, and higher is better, but for every 6 you lose a point of one of your memories. Right. It's like you got to look out for the 6s, and there's just nothing evocative about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
A lot of these mid-90s games fell into the hole between beloved physical artifact and PDF.
Yeah.
There's a 5-6 year period when a game could disappear between the two of those. All right. I think that's it.
Okay, cool. Thanks for listening.